Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today I'm going to be talking about self-striping socks, which I really like knitting because it's fun. And I will talk to you about different variations, different heels that I like to use, all that stuff. Trying to come up with a better, a longer intro or just introduce myself a little more at the beginning of every video. I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I really like knitting. That's pretty much it. You'll get to know a lot of things about me if you watch this channel because I go on a lot of tangents. I have this channel for talking mostly about knitting, but also about all sorts of stuff. I try not to talk about politics too much, but sometimes we get a little bit deep. Sometimes I talk about English church music because I have a master's degree where I studied that. I work at a university with students. I'm not a full-time knitter. I started this channel when I was a nanny because I was recording at a tiny desk, and the kid's dad he works a lot, does a lot of correspondence for NPR and CNN and stuff because he's actually a pandemic expert. So during COVID, when I was living with them, he was doing segments for NPR sometimes, and he was like, "You should call it Tiny Desk Knitting," and so I did. So thank you, Tom, for a great fun name that I use. What else? I am not a nanny anymore. I was a nanny during COVID because I thought it would be fun and because higher ed jobs were really hard to find because a lot of universities had hiring freezes. So I now have a job in higher ed. I'm an academic advisor type of person, success coaching, that kind of thing. I work at a big public university. I'd like to talk about knitting. If you think that I'm fun, you can subscribe. There's a button right below, me, somewhere down there. You'll also find show notes down there. I think you just have to click some kind of see more button. It used to be easier to see it because there was more of a preview of them, and then there was an arrow that said see more. Somewhere near the like and view count, there should be some kind of text that'll say see more, and you can just click that arrow. It drops down this big box of show notes. So if you're looking for links or anything that I say, you'll find that in the show notes. That's where it'll be. I'm not yet quite advanced enough to do those little things where I point and something pops up. We'll see. Maybe I'll get there at some point. Today I'm wearing, this is the visiting cardigan, which I talked about a couple of episodes ago. I'll just drop the video about this in the show notes where I talked about it. This pattern is by, I don't remember. I don't totally remember. It'll probably come to me halfway through and I'll blurt it out in the middle of the sentence randomly. But it is on, I don't know if it's available as a single pattern on Ravelry. It probably is. It's in Lina 11. So the 11th issue of Lina, which came out last spring. So yeah, might be available as a single pattern. I think Lina keeps them for 1 year and then they give the rights back to the designer and then they can sell them on Ravelry. So, yes. Stella Ackroyd, that's her name. That's the designer's name of this cardigan. And this is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maid. Mine is a lot longer. It's rainbow. It's made with scrap yarn. This is Pride Month, so everything's rainbow this month. I wanted to make a rainbow. A little crop top. I like it. It's really comfortable. If you just sit around your house, this is a nice, comfortable piece. You can make it as long or short as you want. It has straps that mine crisscross in the back, but they don't have to. It's comfy. It's a good way to use up your scraps. Also, it's not self-striping, but you could probably make this in self-striping yarn. It might not come out exactly the same because the body would be great, but then you get to these two triangles, which are knit flat, and that might not work out after that. So you'd break up the stripe sequence. So where are we gonna start? I got a bunch of socks, got a bunch of yarn, got my coffee. It's Saturday morning. I usually record on weekend mornings. And it's usually Saturdays, unless it's really early on a Sunday because I sing with a church choir on Sundays. And I have to be there at 9 and it's half an hour away. So it's, unless it's 6:30 a.m. It's usually a Saturday when I'm recording. Cause my roommates don't usually wake up as early as I do, and I wake up. Today I woke up late. I woke up at like 7:45 today. But yeah, today was a little later. I usually wake up early naturally anyway. I don't sleep that much, but I also have this skylight in my room, which is actually right up there. The skylight, there's a huge basically window into my room that just looks into the kitchen. There's like an actual window in there too, but like it looks into the kitchen or the dining room down here. And there's a skylight, an actual skylight, 4 skylight windows up there. So it just lets a ton of natural light into my bedroom in the morning. So I like naturally often wake up like between 5 and 6. I try to go back to sleep, but I really need to get curtains because that's not great. I like the natural light, it's just not at 5:30 a.m. when I would rather be still asleep. So working on that. Okay, self-striping socks. Excuse me. Early. The way that I curb my yawning on like Zoom meetings and stuff is by knitting, and I'm not sitting here knitting because that would be distracting. I wouldn't be looking at the camera. So I knit. This is what I knit on my Zoom meetings. I knit self-striping socks. So let's start with some plain ones. One of the things that I like to do is to buy Knit Picks Felici when it comes out. The Knit Picks Felici comes out every spring and every summer and every winter. They have like 10 new colors. Sometimes they bring back old colors, but it's really fun. They're like, it's like a self-striping. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. This one. So these are 50-gram balls, 75% merino, 25% nylon. It is super wash. You can wash it in the machine. This says you can tumble dry low. I wouldn't do that. Your socks will not last as long if you put them in the dryer. Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm not doing an ad for Felici necessarily because I have one other type of yarn here. But I like to get this because it's not very expensive. It's like $50 if you get 10. And so one of my roommates also knits, and so we get these and then we split them. We take turns choosing a color and we make self-striping socks or whatever with them because it's fun. So yeah, it's like coming up on when they might have new colors, and neither of us have finished knitting all the way through the colors that we have. I'm working on it. I'm like almost halfway through, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm determined. So yeah, they come out. And so, but here's the thing, we only get 1 pack. So like you need 2 balls if you want 100 grams, because this is a 50-gram ball. There's 218 yards and 50 grams. So how do you knit a pair of socks with just 1? And I'm gonna teach you how I'm resourceful. The secret is have a lot of scraps. But I'm also going to be talking about heels I like to use in the self-striping yarn to not break up the stripe sequence or whatever. So the first socks I'm going to show are not Felici, so proof that I have other yarns. These are Twizzler Socks by Becca Knits, and I knit these in West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. Sorry, my sock blockers have little carabiners on them. These are recently finished. This is a colorway Blue Lagoon. Signature 4-ply by West Yorkshire Spinners is a British yarn reared, sheared, and spun in Britain. I think it says on the label. It's high yardage, it's 75% merino or 70% wool, so 25% nylon, because 35% of the wool is Blueface Luster, which makes them soft. And they're very strong. And it's like the self-striping yarns are really fun. I often get a Christmas one and I'll knit the Christmas socks. I have knit several pairs of those, but I don't keep any. There was like sparkle ones that I gave to my friend Lauren. The ones from last year, the Silent Night, 2 years ago. Those are like blue and purple. They're so fun, and they were glittery. And I almost always give Lauren pink things because she loves pink. So I wanted to change it up, and she loved them, which was really fun. And I made them for my mom once. I made the Hollyberry colorway, I love those. And then I used leftovers from that to make my grandma some socks that I like held double with white. You'll see how I do that. I love making the Thanksgiving socks. I made some for my grandpa too, but I just used my scraps and reds and greens because I only had leftovers enough to make 1 pair of socks. So yeah, my grandparents got Christmas socks this year. Yeah, so these are the Twizzler Socks by, I think I said Becca Knits. I think that's who makes them. They are designed them. It's free pattern. It's linked in the show notes. I did a shadow wrap heel. I don't know if there's a heel included. There's probably a heel included in those socks, but you can, if you're a sock knitter, choose your own adventure. Like, choose your own heel. Like I said, I often do an afterthought heel, but this time I did a shadow wrap heel, and you can learn how to do that with Denise DeSantis's pattern. She's Earth Tones Girl on YouTube and Ravelry and stuff, and or you can just watch her tutorial on it. There's a couple of tutorials on YouTube that are linked below. She's fantastic. Even on YouTube, she's really fantastic. So you can watch those and learn about how to make the shadow wrap heel in either the same yarn. So here, excuse me, I did not break the yarn here. I just kept going very fortuitously. The heel took exactly one stripe sequence and changed right at the midpoint. So that was really, I had to try and recreate that for the second sock, and it worked. You can see that it changes right at the midpoint. They're not matching though, so they don't look exactly the same. I didn't want to cut out 3 stripes. I could have, because I had a lot left over, but one of my friends really liked this colorway, and I said, you can have the leftovers, so I had to save them for him. Didn't have to, but I have a lot of leftover yarn, so if someone says they like something, I'm like, you can have the leftovers, no problem. Although, yeah. So he might just have it as decoration because he thought it was pretty. We'll see. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I didn't do any contrasting heels, toes, cuffs in these because I had full 100-gram skein. So West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply comes in 100-gram skeins. I've got another colorway here. It's not actually knit into socks. Knit these for my roommate's boyfriend. He is here a lot, and he's really fun, and he's very knit worthy. He's a good friend of mine. I knit this colorway for him because he really liked the skein. He was like, oh, I love that. And I was like, okay, I'll make you some socks. And the ones I made for him did have a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff in a color that matched this dark brown. This is Mallard, this colorway. So it's dark green, dark blue, this kind of camel color, and then the dark brown, and then the in between, it has these like a darker gran white and a lighter gran white stripes. This is really fun knit up. I will link a picture of the socks I made with it in the show notes down there. I'll say socks I made in West Yorkshire Spinners Mallard, and then you can click the link to the Ravelry page because they're on Ravelry. But yeah, apparently they're very comfortable. I did a shadow wrap heel on those too. I think that was my very first shadow wrap heel. Sometimes you have to close some gaps around the edges of the heels. If you are new to the heel, I still have to do it because sometimes I just make dumb mistakes. The real reason I feel like I have to close a lot of gaps is because I usually knit through the back loops, which is weird, and the yarn has to be twisted the other way. That is an Eastern European style of knitting called combination style knitting. It's extremely ergonomic. My wrists have never had any pain. And I learned from my mom, who learned from my grandma, whose mother was from Ukraine. So that's how that tradition got passed down. And I teach some of my friends how to knit that way. People who I don't see very often, I teach them how to knit regular British style, holding the yarn in their left hand, continental, because it's easier. Just because then like they can then look things up on YouTube and they won't be confused. But like my friends who I taught to knit, most of them I teach to do through the back loops just because it's so much easier. And if they need to ask me questions, they can. So, yeah, so I have to then twist all the stitches to be twisted. So I'm doing English style knitting, and then I have to knit normally like English style knitting for just the heel because I don't know how to do the shadow wrap short rows in my style yet. I might figure it out, but it takes a lot of work to do that, and they might just have a lot of holes because the stitches are twisted in a weird way. So, as my mom and I knit the same way, obviously, and so if you watched my last episode, I was talking to her, we just did a chat because I was home, and she was a hit, and we did not talk about this, but we're frequently like, oh, I figured out how to do this, like, here's how I did it, and like share advice on like, oh, what did you do for that? How did you get around that? Like German short rows was the big thing we had to figure out. And as she said, when I figured it out, she was like, oh, I started doing short rows then because I realized it wasn't hard. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's like, it was not hard. It's just that there was like a hole because you couldn't figure it out because we weren't doing it the right way. And when we eventually got there, which was exciting. So that's West Yorkshire Spinners. You get 100 grams. But then again, like you've got, I don't have 50 grams of this. I have like maybe 40 some. So what do you do with 40 grams? You could make another pair of socks. But they wouldn't be full length, even if you did contrasting heels and toes. I would say maybe split it in two and then do afterthought heels, like split this by weight into two. Do socks that are the same length, but you're doing a contrasting, maybe not a cuff if you wanted a cuff, and then maybe a contrasting toe, because you're not going to be necessarily sure when you'll run out. If you want a maximum length, what I would do is, again, contrasting, you'd split it in two, contrasting cuffs, knit the whole sock with half of the skein, again, measured into two before you start. Like just go and make a tube until it's done. Knit a toe in a contrasting color, and then an afterthought heel in a contrasting color, because the whole point of an afterthought heel is that you can use all the yarn and then decide where you're going to put the heel after. It's an afterthought, which is great. I do that frequently. If I think I'm going to run out. I'm going to sort of demonstrate how I do that with Felici in a second. So there's other options. Like I would hold this. What I probably will do is hold this with a white and make thicker DK weight socks. You'll see examples of this. I've done a bunch of them. I only have two, I think, with me, but I've knit. You can go and see all my DK socks, and like I'll link this in a playlist, and you can see the whole playlist. Okay, let's talk about the Felici socks. So here's a couple that I did with an afterthought heel. Exactly, basically how I explained. These ones have been worn by me. They've been folded, as you can see. Used West Yorkshire spinners, in fact, for the heel here. It's kind of felted up, but it hasn't got any holes, which is good. The top has some felting. I actually wore these in boots a few times, and they've been fine. I swear these are bulletproof. That's why, so if you wear socks in your boots, they'll get all rubbed up on the back. So I would recommend not wearing them in boots or any shoe with a back. I would just wear them in like house slippers or around the house. Or with Birkenstocks or something. They probably won't get that beat up in Birkenstocks. This is the colorway Under the Sea, I think, of Felici. And then again, I did West Yorkshire spinners. I think this is the color Juniper, because it matched this blue almost exactly. You can see there. There's a little bit of a difference, but that's what I like to do. I like to try and find one of the colors in the yarn, and then like find a scrap of that color in my scrap bag, and then heels, toes, and cuffs in that color. And West Yorkshire Spinners is great for that because they actually make colors that are the same. Sometimes they're a little different, but most of the time you can like find a color from West Yorkshire Spinners that is an actual color, excuse me, in your yarn. So yeah, like the Woolly Thistle will tell you if you go get the signature 4-ply from the Woolly Thistle, they'll be like, this color goes with this solid, this colorway goes with this solid. Like in the birds, the country birds, which this is part of. It's great, super cool. Sometimes they're a little different, but honestly, who cares? Like the colors are a little off from each other like they are here, but you can't really tell. It's great. So yeah, I choose to do that usually for heels, toes, and cuffs. And these have an afterthought heel. So basically what I did with this was I took the ball, and like it comes in a ball, so you can just knit straight off the ball if you want. Not a problem. I actually wound this on my winder, and I counted while I was winding. I wound it slowly, and I counted how many stripes there were. And there were like 31 full stripes, and then a couple of like half stripes. And I was like, well, that's inconvenient because now I can't do 16 stripes because I'll have, that's not, you know, each, but I can do 15 stripes each. Actually on this one, I did 15 and a half stripes each, and that was fine. Because you can see I did a little bit on the toes there. I think I split it in half and did, but I did start at a stripe. And then I cut in the heel with the Kirby Werby Afterthought tutorial. That's my preferred afterthought tutorial if you're looking. These ones don't look super nice. Let me show you a pair these aren't blocked, but this is what the afterthought heel looks like. It looks exactly like the toe. So this is the toe. I ran out of this yarn, which was, it's like a little more tonal. I didn't know what I was doing when I was dyeing yarn at this point. I definitely knew more what I was doing when I was dyeing this one. So this one's also tonal, but like not white. Like that one is just green. So yeah, I again just use yarn in my stash for heels, toes, and cuffs. Oftentimes it's sock yarn that I've dyed from years past or whatever. This, some ends peeking out. These are, I literally just finished these like 2 days ago. This is the Bookshop colorway, which I loved. And I could have used the blue. Still had West Yorkshire Spinners Juniper, which you can see is basically the same as this blue as well. But I didn't, I wanted to use the green, so I add another kind of earthy, foresty color. I think my roommate Jordan's gonna want these ones. She said she loved the colorway, and I was like, great, they're yours when they're done. That's what I do. Especially with self-striping, I really just do it as like, this is relaxing on a Zoom meeting, and I don't have to be sitting there yawning because I'm so fidgety. So I make everybody self-striping socks. Like I said, my other roommate, Hannah, she makes her own self-striping socks. So Hannah wanted some, she could have them, but she usually makes her own. Hannah prefers it if I give her yarn. She does if I give her socks, so I think a knitter always does. So again, these aren't totally matching because I had 15 stripes for each. But yeah, I love these. And I did the afterthought heels, just cut them in later. I think it should fit. I kind of estimated, I just counted on one of them, like the number of rows up, and I was like 73 should do it, or whatever it was. 73 was fine. So then I counted 73. Actually, I didn't count. I just went to halfway up that stripe. Like I was like, it's this many stripes plus half. And so I just counted that many stripes plus half, and they match. So that's fine too. So afterthought heel is the best way if you do not know how much yarn you have, if you like to knit from the cuff down. There is another way to do it. If you want to knit from the toe up, there's another heel possibility, and it's the shadow wrap heel. I didn't knit these ones from the toe up, but I did knit this pair. These are all Knit Picks Felici from here on out pretty much, just because again, I have a bunch. So this has a shadow wrap heel. This is the colorway Bayou. So these ones are kind of interesting because they have a big thick stripe, which is worth 2 stripes, which made me miscount for some dumb reason, and I used too much on the first sock, and then I ran out and I had to just finish it with the contrasting. You can't even tell because these ones are dark at the top and this is a dark blue at the top. But yeah, this didn't have any navy in them, but I had some really, really dark navy. It almost looks black for the heels, toes, and cuffs. That was a yak base that I dyed a couple summers ago. Last summer. Yeah, I dyed them last summer. For, I knit Lee some socks with those. They were Hermione's Everyday Socks, and they had gold heels, toes, and cuffs, and they were I knit these socks, 2 pairs for Hobbs's best friend. Hobbs is my dog. Because he doesn't live here with me, but you saw him 2 episodes ago when I was in Burlington. If you watch back 2 episodes ago, he makes a cameo. Hobbs's best friend is named Taxi, and she's a big yellow Labradoodle, and Taxi's mom's moved to Connecticut last year. Hopefully not forever, because Hobbs and Taxi would be too sad. He got really sad when they moved. You'd say Taxi and he'd start whining. But I made these, the blue. I dyed it specifically, and I dyed that for Taxi's mom, Lee, and made some socks for a going away present. It was sad. Taxi probably stole the socks. I think Taxi's like a sock stealer. A lot of dogs do that. Hobbs never takes human anything. Like if he was being really naughty, he never is though. He's not. Yeah, he's not really that naughty like that. He doesn't. Really, like once a year, he gets like really playful and he's like, I'm gonna steal this thing. But he doesn't really, it's not like my mom said in the last episode, he like got into this one yarn randomly. Like that's so unlike him. But like once in a while, somebody just comes over him, like the devil overtakes him a little bit. He's like, I'm gonna do this. Anyway, he's ridiculous, but he's hilarious. He's so funny. But Taxi is like more of a toy sock person. Dog person. She's a dog. She kind of acts like a person. She's almost like a human. So anyway, I miscounted the stripes because one of them was just too thick and I ran out, but that was fine. It happens. Yeah, these ones were fun. So for these, I did toe up, I did shadow wrap heel. I used a bind off that I will link. I think Very Pink Knits did the tutorial of like a super stretchy bind off. I use it all the time for toe up. This is my only bind off I use for toe up socks because it doesn't flare. As you can see, it's not flared. you know, it's not pulling in quite as much as this one is. It's more flat, but it doesn't flare. And a lot of the stretchier bind-offs will flare this way. Sometimes I do a tubular bind-off, but I don't like that one either because it's just not as stretchy. Like I try it and the Kitchener stitch just takes forever. This one's great. I'm gonna link it. It really has changed my life in terms of toe-up socks. I really still don't like to do toe-up socks, but now I'm more willing to, on occasion, do toe-up socks. So there's that. So yeah, shadow wrap if you want to do toe-up. And again, you could do that with the same yarn, like in these. I did that with the same yarn, didn't change, didn't cut anything. These I did, you don't have to cut, but I did them with the with a contrasting. So again, Earth Tones Girls videos, she has one for just like normal, and then she has one saying if you're using a contrasting color, here's like the tiny things you need to just keep in mind, which is awesome. Makes you have fewer holes in your socks. Okay, I don't think I have any more. Oh, I was going to talk about, these are not self-striping, these are just striped. These are my Advent socks from last year. I made them during Advent with all my sock scraps, 24 different colors. I didn't actually do one stripe a day, but that's the idea, is that you do one stripe a day. This is not a skein I bought. I literally just striped them. These I did do a heel flap and gusset because I was changing the colors. So I wasn't, like, the stripes are still the same size all across the gusset because I was changing the colors. It wasn't a self-striping skein. So if you're striping yourself, there's no reason that you can't do a heel flap and gusset, or you shouldn't for reasons of breaking up a stripe sequence. You can do whatever you want. It's your knitting. But I'm just saying, like, for the self-striping, I'm basically showing you how not to break up a stripe sequence. That's the point here. I just did some white heels, toes, and cuffs. I don't know where the other one is. I just found this in my sock drawer and I was like, where's the other one? I don't know. Not gonna dig for it right now. It's Saturday morning. But yeah, you can do your own and then do whatever you want for the heel because it won't break up any sequence. You won't run out of yarn, all that kind of thing. So that's great. When I do not self-striping, like me striping, I usually knit in the ends. Earth Tones Girl also has a tutorial for that I will link. Lots of people have that, like there's a Weave and Steven method that's probably the same. I don't know, I've never seen that, but I assume it's like the same thing. You just kind of like basically twisting the ends around your working yarn so that it's held down and it works great. Don't have to weave those ends in. Okay, let's talk about how I like to make DK socks. You've seen these before, probably. These are I've worn these a lot, so they're kind of dirty on the bottom. I cannot remember. Base Jump was the colorway here. This is Knit Picks Felici. The orange heels, toes, and cuffs are leftover yarn. See, there's like, these have pilling from they're just like I wear these all the time. They're super, super comfortable. These I did do a heel flap and gusset because I was holding this yarn double with white, and you can't tell as much that I made smaller stripes across the foot. Like this turquoise strip's a little thinner, but otherwise it was fine. Yeah, I did 4 stripes, and then I did 2 full stripe sequences on these, and they match. So I'm doing that again on this other pair that I'm doing of these. But yeah, there they are. Contrasting color here. I had to finish it off because it wasn't totally long enough. I had this orange here that went really well because there was another orange in it. Thought that was fun. Yeah, that was all good. I held these double. I used the Thick Skipping Socks by Summer Lee as a pattern. It's really simple. It's really comfortable. I knit mine onto a US size 2.5 needle magic loop, so 40 inches, 48 stitches. You know, if I'm making them for a man or a person with larger or wider feet, I use 52 stitches. She even has a 56 stitch, I think, or maybe 60, something like that. She has a bunch of sizes. But yeah, I do 48 for me-ish, 2.5 needle. If I were you and I don't know if you are a tight or loose knitter. I'm a loose knitter, so I would just recommend a needle size from the pattern. It's probably like more like a 3. The 3 was too big when I made them, so yeah. I'm gonna make the same, like holding with white for this pair as well. You can buy Bear Felici, so I just hold it double. I get my bear yarn from various places. This is 75.25. I actually dye yarn, so sometimes I get it from Wool to Dye For, which is where I get my yarn, my undyed yarn. They have a 75.25 base now, so sometimes I get it from them because it's cheaper. That's why. Okay, this is my current whip. I also have, oh, this is what I'm gonna pair this one with. There's a pink and there's a magenta, so I'm gonna use this lighter pink, which is a 75.25 base from the Farmer's Daughters from last year. This was a random mini from FDF with a, not a random mini, it came with a sock skein. I don't think I knit those socks. I think that was the white with the purple speckles. I think that sock yarn's still in my stash, but I didn't feel like using the mini with it. So I paired it here. Haven't knit them yet, but I will. And I think I'm gonna again knit these double thick with the white Felici as house socks for people. I also have this one left, Solstice, which I like, but I haven't decided if I'm gonna do this held double or not. Again, new colors are coming out soon, so I might just hold it double because it goes a lot faster. I'll show you what I'm doing right now, holding a yarn double. So this one is called Vegas Baby, and it's kind of a muted rainbow, which I thought was nice for Pride Month. I am doing a purple with it to make it almost a full rainbow. There's no orange in it, but that's fine. Again, there's a white, and then this is what it looks like. There's some ends coming out there, but it looks like this. I am doing something new, as a viewer suggested, to make them ribbed all the way around. So I am doing ribbing on the bottom of the foot too, and see what happens. I did do a regular heel flap and gusset, and then I just started doing ribbing again. And like, there's the turn. So we'll see how those fit. And I'm probably just gonna keep these. Yeah, again, I'm gonna do 2 stripe sequences, and I finished 1 and 1 stripe. So, and I just did this like yesterday on Zoom at work. So not all day, this is like 2 hours of knitting. So these again are really fast. I once did the math to see how many stitches were in a DK sock versus a fingering weight sock. And I thought there would be like half the stitches in a DK sock, and there's like 20% of the stitches in a fingering weight sock or in a DK weight sock. Like it goes 5 times as fast or something. It's like ridiculous. It was maybe a quarter. It was different than I thought, and I was shocked. You can see this. So this is the color of my own contrasting. And then there's a berry, there's a red, kind of a muted ochre gold. There's this bright green, this one that's kind of bright, a kind of muted teal, and then a blue, and then it goes back to the berry. So I actually wanted the rainbow start. Basically, I wanted this bluish purple here, and then I wanted it to be the like reddish pink. So I cut out 1 stripe and a half or something, but it doesn't matter because I'm not gonna use the full skein like I do with the fingering weight socks. I use the full 15 stripes per sock. For these, I only do 12 stripes. I guess it would be more like 13, but if I want them to match, it's a 6 stripe series, so I have to do 12. And then I just finish it with whatever my contrasting is. No problems. So yeah. Now there's just sock yarn all over my table. This is a Hohi bag. It's called the box bag. My mom got this for me for Christmas. This year, last year, sometime, for my socks, and I really like it. So it's perfect for socks. You can fit enough for DK socks, but it's a little tight. It's much better if you just have 1 skein of sock yarn on your needles and your socks. But yeah. I'm talking about socks on the Woolly Thistles channel on Friday too, so it's been a lot of sock recording today because I recorded that one earlier. It's probably like almost 9 now. Let's see what time it is. Oh, it's past 9. It's 9:15, and I started recording after 8. I got up late today, like I said. 34 minutes, that's not bad. I guess I can talk about my life a little bit. Yeah, it's hot here now. It's like, I was in Vermont, it was nice and cool. It's really hot here. It's like, actually yesterday was really nice. I went out to Guinness last night. Guinness, there's this big, huge Guinness like factory out just outside of Baltimore. It's really close to my work and where my best friend works, and we work at different places on either side of Guinness. And so we went out to work with my roommate and one of our new friends that he knew, and my friend, not my roommate. that my friend knew, a new friend. And we all went to Guinness and Five Guys, and it was really nice. It was not too hot. We made a new friend, so that was fun. And I knit at Hannah actually went to the knitting store, and then she came to Guinness because they're close by, and she needed some needles. So she ran there. She brought her knitting. I brought my knitting. Nitin did not bring his knitting, but he doesn't usually bring it out. And then our new friend was like, wow, it's a lot of knitting. But he was, people are just like kind of fascinated by it most of the time. Yeah, so not a super nice weekend, which was sad because we wanted to go to the beach. Yeah. Nitin and I went sometimes go to the beach for Memorial Day, but we weren't really in town. I was in Burlington, and so we've been putting it off. And last year I got very sunburned, but that was my own fault. The Chesapeake's not bad. We can sometimes go to the bay, to like a beach in Annapolis. Yeah, but we wanted to go this weekend, but it's just like a little crazy. It's DC Pride, and it's not nice today anyway. It's probably gonna thunder. Tomorrow we might go, but it's maybe gonna thunder tomorrow too. The thing about Maryland is that it's like, you got squalls, so like, cause it's kind of in the south, so sometimes it'll like say thunder, but the thunderstorm will be like for 20 minutes and then it will be beautiful for the rest of the day. So I'm kind of hoping that's what happens tomorrow. Like while I'm at church, it rains, and then cause tomorrow is Trinity Sunday. If you watch my channel, you know I talk always about the liturgical season. Tomorrow's Trinity Sunday. So that's kind of like oftentimes the wrap up of the like academic church year, because most churches just like go to like one service in the summer. This is the Episcopal Church. If you're new to my channel, I am a church musician. I've always been a church musician. Wrote my master's thesis about girls singing church music in England. Yeah, that's what I do. It's just like a hobby. It's my second hobby after knitting. It's my other big hobby. And yeah, I don't talk that much about music history on this channel because like it's not really relevant, but I was a music history teacher when I was a grad student, and I love to teach music history. I love it. It is my favorite thing to do. So anyway, yeah, so that's church is tomorrow. Trinity Sunday. Trinity Sunday is the Sunday after Pentecost. I mean, you're celebrating the idea of the Trinity. There's just like a lot of hymns that are like based around the Trinity. It's basically, and in the Episcopal Church, everything is just an excuse to sing like particular hymns and anthems. It's mostly about the music. So gonna get to do some good ones tomorrow, hopefully. I haven't been at this church very long, so we'll see. But they do tend to have the good hymns at the right times, which is important in an Episcopal church when I'm choosing a church. And yeah, it's kind of, yeah, hopefully we'll have a weekend where it's nice and sunny and hot and appropriate for the beach. Hannah and I both have Juneteenth off, so we might try to go to the Eastern Shore then, just because like not everybody has that day off, so maybe the traffic won't be quite as bad, and we might go to the real ocean. We'll see. Or do something over on the Eastern Shore, just because it's not that far. We live pretty close to the Bay Bridge. It's like 40 minutes from here. And if there's no traffic, then that's great. Bonus. Gas is really expensive right now, but like, I don't know, that's fine. It was $50 to fill up my Honda Civic. I have a Honda Civic. It was $50 to fill it up because gas was $4.99. So that was crazy. I only really have to fill up like every 3 weeks, even though I drove to work every day, because the Civic gets like 40 miles to the gallon, which is great. My parents just got an electric car. They got a Nissan Leaf, but apparently it's really hard to get them, like, because everybody wants one right now. I mean, it's just hard to get a car right now. I keep thinking about how lucky I am that I got mine, like, when I did, like, before. I got it in 2020 in like August, before like things were insane with the chip shortage, and I got a really good deal on it. So I'm like, well, this is a great car, but I can't wreck it, because like then it would cost like $1 million to get a Honda Civic. Like I paid whatever I paid for it. It'd be like, you'd have to pay like $6,000 more to get that car now. So like, it's just insane. Inflation. and shortages, and we live in the apocalypse. No, we don't. I'm hoping that I have faith that things will get better. Maybe. Oh my gosh, listen to the climate scientists, please. I said I don't talk about politics too much, but oops. Yeah. Yeah, so I knit so that I don't get so anxious about everything, which I think we all do. So yeah, I'm gonna keep knitting my self-striping socks. I still have some skeins downstairs. Like, I know I have a Woolens and Nosh skein downstairs still that I haven't touched, that I got last year. And people love Woolens and Nosh. Woolens and Nosh is actually from Vermont too. She's in Thetford, I think. I don't totally know where Thetford is, but Vermont's pretty small, so I feel like it's near Craftsbury, which is in the Northeast Kingdom. So I do know where the Northeast Kingdom is. My best friend is getting married, who I went to her bachelorette and her wedding shower, and that's why I was like in Vermont and Florida and all those places. She's getting married in Greensboro, which is in the Northeast Kingdom, because her parents have a place up there. It's like a beautiful bed and breakfast kind of. It's an old inn, and it's not functioning anymore. They just live there, but that's where the wedding is, which is nice. It's a nice free venue, so that's lovely. It's a lovely place. Sometimes it's a little bit like you're driving through and you're like, wow, what is this? There's a lot of really good beer up there. If you like good beer, you should go to the Northeast Kingdom and go, like, Hill Farmstead is out there. There's another one that's out there. I can't remember what it's called. There's a lot of like really famous Vermont beers and like breweries now. Like Lawson's that's in the Mad River Valley. Lawson's makes Sip of Sunshine. Citizen Cider is getting pretty popular, actually. Citizen Cider is in Burlington, and Zero Gravity's in Burlington too. Yeah, Zero Gravity. Citizens are in Burlington. There's a bunch in Burlington. Switchback's also in Burlington, but I don't know if that's like, if you see Switchback like outside of Vermont, really. Yeah, and then Hill Farmstead is like, they don't even have that many that you can buy in cans, but you can get it on tap at a lot of Vermont, just like restaurants. And that's my mom's. That's her favorite beer, is called Edward by Hill Farmstead. So that's gonna be at the wedding, and she's excited. Yeah, now I'm just rambling. But yeah. Okay, well, I have a long day, so I have to go to DC. Trying not to drive into DC. I'm trying to drive to the Red Line and then take the Red Line into DC, because it's just gonna be mad. It's always madness driving into I hate driving in DC. I mean, I got really good at it when I was a nanny, but I was like 3 routes that I was really good at. And if I had to deviate from that route because there was an accident on the highway, I'd be like, I can't believe I have to drive along the National Mall. This is the worst. It is the worst. It's not fun. So we're gonna take the subway into the city because I hate parking. So, thank you for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.